Okay, so I'm doing Dr. Seuss. Politicians, teachers, and old people alike know that children are the future, the key to it being bright. But modern history has yet to see a man promote this idea so well he has millions of fans. That is, of course, with the exception of one. Theodore Seuss Geisel, more popularly known as Dr. Seuss, a name he truly used just for fun. Theodore, or Ted, and his sister Marnie were the first in their family to not be born in Germany. Ted grew up modest in a Massachusetts town named Springfield. However, he was bullied at school, a topic he tried to keep concealed. While in grade school, his father gave Ted his first drawing set, then encouraged him to draw the animals at the zoo so he'd have memories he'd never forget. But Ted found that drawing real animals was a bore, so he created his own creatures and realized drawing cartoons wasn't a chore. Unfortunately, family bliss soon would be missed. Many German immigrants felt aggression after the First World War, and Prohibition forced the family of brewmasters to make sales only behind a closed door. When times became tough, Ted's father took over the Springfield Zoo, but Mother Henrietta kept family life happy by belting out rhymes and singing songs too. Here is a picture of Ted as a boy. He claimed during his teen years his mother's rhymes brought him joy. The top picture is of the Geisel family home, and below is a painting of the zoo he used to roam. Ted wasn't a good student, and although he was bored with school, he wanted to make his dad proud, so he attended Dartmouth and Oxford to become an English professor, but his head was always in a cloud. At Dartmouth, he did find enjoyment in writing for his college magazine, and becoming editor-in-chief was like fulfilling a dream. But when a drinking scandal was exposed and he was kicked off the Jack-o'-lantern staff, Theodore wrote under the pseudonym Seuss instead of releasing an angry wrath. This is Ted as he attended Dartmouth for college. However, the cartoons show that he didn't really go for the knowledge. While studying at Oxford, he met a woman who changed his life. Helen Palmer was a grad student that soon became his wife. She encouraged him to drop out of school and stop wasting his time, so they moved back to the United States and Ted's skills started to shine. Ted did small jobs as a cartoonist, but truly happy was he. Then he made his big break with the Standard Oil Company. Seuss used the honorary title of doctor. He claimed he deserved it since he did attend Oxford. The cartoons he drew varied from makeup to car parts, and throughout his career he made hundreds of these pieces of art. Now let's stop for a second and think about today. Everyone knows slogans like "Got Milk" and "Have It Your Way." But that's due to Dr. Seuss and his clever one-line bit of the first real slogan, "Quick, Henry the Flick." Here is the cartoon that started Ted's recognizable career. Through making Flit cartoons, he advanced the advertising frontier. Flit is a pesticide that kills mosquitoes and flies, and because of Seuss, its sales were ridiculously high. Ted loved making cartoons but wanted to do more than just ads, but his contract with Standard Oil was more firm than an ironclad. So Ted started a new hobby of unorthodox taxidermy, which were basically sculptures of his characters which were imaginary. By the mid-1930s, Ted found a clause in his Standard Oil contract that allowed him to make only children's books, as a matter of fact. So Dr. Seuss wrote his first children's book, And to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street, which was a book that taught children that imagination was a fantastical trait. The book was rejected from publishing more than a dozen times, and after being published, mothers acted as if it promoted children committing crimes. Yet in this short story, Seuss was breaking the mold of a typical child book. It encouraged young readers to view the world with a new look. The point was to challenge kids to be kids and have fun. It challenged them to let their minds skip, jump, and run. And even though his first book wasn't an instant success, it was his next that would put his career to the test. And this is kind of a weird slide, so just bear with me. The personal life of Ted was a mess. In just a short time span, he had to lay both his mother and sister to rest. He virtually adopted his niece, who was growing up fast, but her husband-to-be made Seuss a success at last. Upon marrying Ted's niece, the nephew-in-law promised that he would publish every Dr. Seuss book, and he was honest. So what did the smart-aleck Dr. Seuss do? Publish an adult book made out of cartoons. Random House Publishing stayed true to their word, but Seuss claimed the reason it failed wasn't absurd. He blamed it on the drawings, not the theme or the time, but nevertheless it was the only adult book Seuss ever did put on the line. In 1940, Horton Hatch's The Egg was released, but the child's book had a deep meaning tied to the war out east. World War II was in full swing, and Americans were again being racist to any German thing. This brought up memories for Geisel of being taunted in grade school, so it isn't a surprise to use this book as a racism-fighting tool. When the egg hatches, a mixed elephant bird baby is born. It's not the best species, and the bird mother is forlorn. But Horton doesn't care and accepts responsibility. He proved the political statement, be who you want to be. Additionally, this took a shot at those in the sexist crowd. It showed a male could be a better parent than a female if allowed. Many think he did this because of his wife, who had problems becoming a published female author throughout her life. When Americans became involved in World War II, Ted wanted to fight for his country and support the red, white, and blue. He started off drawing political cartoons, which he hoped would encourage boys to follow through with the draft and join their pontoons. But the military needed Ted to do something more, make educational videos that prepared the new soldiers for war. These are samples of cartoons to persuade people to invest in the war, and these made Seuss seem racist for sure. There is no proof that he was a racist man. These were extremist-style cartoons that encouraged Americans to donate whatever they can. All cartoons of the time looked like this, and based on the messages from his books, the racist rumors can be dismissed. After not publishing a book for nearly 10 years, Seuss went right to work. He published a couple of books, but other passions started to lurk. Ted attempted screenplay with The 5,000 Fingers of Dr. T, and to say the least, it was a catastrophe. This movie was similar to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but with only an ounce of success. The plot goes as follows. The evil Dr. Terrywinkle, or Dr. T, forced 500 boys to play piano, and Bart saves them. Yes, it was a mess. A typical primer was Dick and Jane, a book whose main characters were well-behaved and plain. The children were boring and not real at all, so when Seuss wrote, he wanted to ensure his characters had a ball. However, the reason Dick and Jane were so read was because they introduced new vocabulary through what these characters did and said. So with a list of only 225 words to choose from, Seuss wrote a book, a fun, whimsical story that got kids hooked. What was the title? The Cat in the Hat, and Dr. Seuss became a legacy just like that. Very little discussion has to be made. It's obvious that the Cat in the Hat has Dick and Jane outweighed. What changed the world more was what Ted did next. He started a literacy craze through books and their text. With the help of his wife and Random House Publishing, they created the I Can Read All by Myself upbringing. These books were created to teach kids everything they needed to know in order to read. Pictures moved from left to right, were vivid, the words lined up too, not to mislead. He took the beginner book idea and opened it up to all, with the only restriction following Seuss protocol. Because of beginner books, the Bernstein Bears series and countless others were instant hooks. But not all authors were able to complete the task. In fact, Roald Dahl, the author of The Big Friendly Giant, couldn't pass. As Ted neared his life, Helen died and the much younger Audrey Stone became his new wife. Ted wrote 2 books, You're Only Old Once and All the Places You'll Go, with meanings those in the older crowd would know. These books contemplated what happens after death and focused on getting rid of all of life's regrets. These books These books can bring tears, although they're still fun. And shortly after publishing the latter, Theodore Seuss Geisel passed on September 24th of 1991. So now comes the question, how does this impact society? Well, for starters, Seuss continues to increase literacy. The Cat in the Hat and other beginner books titles are today's most popular primers, and it looks as if they'll be there for a while. Museums have been touring with Dr. Seuss art for more than 25 years, and that's just a start. Audrey has assisted in all the recent museum affairs. The original is in Springfield with Ted in his chair. On top is the main exhibit in Chicago, Illinois. Below, the Traveling Atlanta Museum will also fill a Seuss fan with joy. His books have been translated into nearly 30 languages around the world, and Dr. Seuss movies are being unfurled. They've been released as cartoons, live action, and animation, and the Broadway show Seussical the Musical has toured this great nation. Florida even has a Seuss theme park, and Seuss merchandise is making its mark. Google celebrated Ted's 109th birthday this past year, and schools around the world celebrated with green egg, ham, and cheer. Theodore Seuss Geisel changed the world to be fun. He gave children the ability to let their imaginations run. Because of his techniques and deep meanings, he'll be around for a while. So embrace what he preached and live life.